Yo, what's good, basketball heads? It's your boy Crush. Let's talk about Charles Barkley calling out Joel Embiid after loss to the Celtics. So Charles said James Harden has a mental block when he's out there. In a sense, he's saying James Harden, when Joel Embiid is on the floor, James Harden played lesser than he could actually plays when Joel Embiid is on the floor with him. Which it makes sense because he's trying to defer. Obviously, Joel Embiid is the better player. And it makes sense they're going to play to Joel Embiid and he's going to get the ball. He's going to dominate the ball more than James, which makes sense. But as you can see from game one, when Joel Embiid ain't out there, James Harden plays more free-flowing. He just plays ball, He doesn't have to defer or overthink. But when Joel Embiid is out there, he's trying not to do too much. And that also crippled him as a player because, he's deferring so much to Joel Embiid, which he should, rightfully so, we understand. But they got to figure out how they both can coexist without James Harden deferring so much. He should defer, but not to the point where he's not as effective as he could be. And whenever Joel Embiid is not available, James Harden is a totally different player. That's what Charles Barkley is saying. He plays more freely. A lot of players play more freely because they're not deferring to Joel Embiid, or we got to make sure Joel Embiid touch the ball, which is understandable once again, but it's also hindering James Harden's ability. This is what Charles Barkley had to say. James Harden plays differently when Joel Embiid is out there. In my opinion, he's got a mental block. He's not nearly as aggressive. That was night and day from game one to game two. I think it hurts Maxey. I think it hurts Tobias Harris. They play at a much more freelance pace when he's not out there. That is true, because if you saw game one and saw how the team play, they play more freely. The ball is moving and they're just playing freely. Nobody's overthinking. We got to get the ball to Joel Embiid, to rely on Joel Embiid, understandably. But it's just a more free-flowing offense. Things James Harden would do when there's no Joel Embiid, he probably won't because, he's trying to play through Joel Embiid. And at times, it could be detrimental to the team. So as great as Joel Embiid is, and he is great, James Harden's game is suffering when Joel Embiid is on the court. Is it Joel Embiid's fault? No. It's more so James Harden trying to defer and trying not to do too much. Doc Rivers got to figure out how to make both these players real effective without James Harden feeling like he needs to sacrifice to the point. Yes, we all got to sacrifice, but to a certain extent. And as you can see from game one, they were able to beat the Celtics without Joel Embiid in a free-flowing offense, like freelancing, everybody just playing, and no one is overthinking. It's going to be interesting to see how this thing unfolds moving forward in game three. Charles Barkley also said the organization should have kept Joel Embiid out in game two just to see what James Harden and the others could have done. Maybe they could have won game two. Since they already won game one, he should have just kept Joel Embiid out and ride with Harden, basically. Who knows? They probably could have stole game two. Last night's game, Joel Embiid was horrible. He played terrible. As expected, he's coming off injury. He's rusty. He got to work himself back into basketball shape. He's a big guy and just missing a few days or a week. That's a lot when you're a big guy. You're out of shape. You're rusty. So Charles said, they should have kept Joel Embiid out and just run with what they got going on, which it makes sense they could have done that because they already won game one anyway. So it wasn't a big deal for them to bring Joel Embiid back. They could have ran it back and see what they could have done, but Joel Embiid came back. Understandably, it's Joel Embiid, and he was horrible. And James Harden is playing less of himself because he's deferring, and the offense is just not the same when Joel Embiid and James Harden is out there. So they got to figure some stuff out. They got a few things they got to figure out, a few kinks they got to work out because you want game one James Harden. That James Harden you want. And if Joel Embiid being out there means you won't get that version, then we have a problem. We got to figure something out because that game one James Harden, that's prime Houston James Harden. That version, if you get that version with Joel Embiid and they could coexist and play together, and James could operate on that level, they'll win the series, no problem. But you're going to need that version. But whenever Joel Embiid is on the court, You can't seem to get that version. Whether Charles Barkley is right or wrong, who's to say? But the proof is in the pudding. And in game 2, Joel Embiid didn't really have much of an impact. He put up 15 points in 25 minutes. And that's not enough to overpower Boston, so they could have kept him out an extra game, game 2, and roll with the dices and see what happened, see what the results are. But then again, him coming back early mean he get that rust off. So I mean they're pros. I guess they'll figure it out. Doc will figure it out. I guess Harden will figure it out because they're gonna need game 1 James Harden with Joel Embiid. If you could get game 1 James Harden for the rest of the series, the chances of winning is very high. But we'll see what happens in game 3 and moving forward. As always, I'll holla. As always, we just talking basketball. Hit the subscribe button, like, comment, share, holla at your boy.
It's all about the game and how you play it. It's all about the game. I'ma say it. It's all about the game.